Right, now in this video, we want to evaluate the limits of those functions, right? So here we have trigonometric functions. Great, but before we jump right into it, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please do want to subscribe to my channel. This is Solo Anch channel on YouTube, right? Here we have fun math videos for you and also educational videos like this. All right, let's continue. So we have the limit as x tends to 0 of 1 minus cosine of x. Well, we just need to, let's say, plug in the value x is approaching into the function and see if it's going to give us some result that makes sense, right? So we look at the first one, the limit as x approaches 0 of 1 minus cosine of x. Great. So this is 1, this is minus another function. So those are difference of two functions. When we were talking about the rules of limit in the beginning of this topic, limit in general, we were looking at the rules when we have the sum of two functions. The limit of the sum is going to be the sum of the limit. The limit of the difference of two functions is going to be the difference of the limits of those functions. So here we have difference of two functions. So that is going to be limit of 1 as x approaches 0 minus limit of cosine of x as x approaches 0. Good. Here we have just the constant, which is 1. So as x approaches 0, the result of the limit is just going to be that constant, right? Because there is no way we are going to substitute a value of x for this function because that's just a constant, which is just 1. So the result of the limit is just 1, like that, right? Good. So we have it minus, then the limit of cosine x as x tends to 0. Well, cosine 0 is 1. That is a nice thing to note. So as x tends to 0, cosine x approaches 1, all right? So we have it to be 1 minus 1. So the result of this limit is just 0. That's it for the first question. Let's look at the second one. We have the limit of as x tends to pi over 2 of cosecant x. Well, cosecant x is the same thing as 1 over sine x, right? So in place of cosecant, I'll just put 1 over sine. So this is the limit. And again, pi over 2, maybe this is measured in radians. So you notice the same thing as 90 degrees, right? So this is 1 over sine x, as I said. So as x tends to pi over 2, sine x, which is in the denominator actually, tends to 1, right? Because sine pi over 2 is going to be 1. So this is going to give us 1 over, so as I said earlier, as x tends to pi over 2, sine x tends to 1, all right? So that is it. So the limit of the denominator is 1. The limit of the numerator is 1. So the result of the limit in general, which is 1 over 1, is equal to 1. Okay, so the third question gives us that the limit as x approaches 0 of tangent of x plus 1. Well, it would be nice thing to note that tangent of 0, okay, is equal to 0. So as x approaches 0, tan 0 is just going to be 0. But it didn't know that, and you know what sine 0 is and cosine 0 is. You can as well rewrite tangent of x in terms of sine and cosine, and that will give us limit as x tends to 0. Tangent of x is something as sine x over the cosine of x. Then we add 1 to that, right? Good. So as x tends to 0, sine x, which is actually in the numerator, tends to 0 because sine 0 is 0. And then cosine 0, okay, or cosine of x as x tends to 0 is going to be 1 because that's what we get, right? And then we add this 1 to that. Well, this is actually like a limit of sum of two functions. Then it's going to be the sum of the limit. So you take the limit of this one, gives us 0 over 1. And we take the limit of 1. As x tends to anything, it's just going to be that 1. Good. So this is 0 over 1. Well, 0 over 1 is 0. So 0 plus 1, the result here is just 0. So that's the result of that limit. Okay, let's look at the fourth one quickly. Again, pi is something as 180 degrees. So you need to know what tangent of 180 degrees is. Well, tangent of 180 degrees is something as 0, right? Good. And then this is going to be tangent of pi over pi, just by substitution. And when we see that, tangent of pi there is tangent of pi there is 0. Then we have the 0 over pi, which is just 0 as a result. So the result of the limit is also 0. So maybe you can rewrite that tangent in terms of sine and cosine and still simplify further. That's still going to give you the same result. Okay, great. All right, let's go over and do some more complicated examples than these ones. All right, thanks for watching and please subscribe to my channel.